will go into there. Hello? Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of Traeger Kitchens Live. My name is Danielle Bennett, also known as Diva Q. I am a barbecue expert, pitmaster, and of course a big part of Traeger Nation. I'm so excited that you guys are here in my backyard right now. You know, one of the things is that I love to teach barbecue, and having everybody here is like just a dream come true. We're going live right now on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. Make sure you ask your questions. We'll be answering them for the entire duration of today. And today we are doing 3 recipes that I make all the time. And the thing is that this is real cooking at my house right now. We're gonna be doing reverse seared steaks. And that is an awesome technique for so many different cuts of meat. We're also gonna be doing a beautiful, beautiful succulent smoked garlic compound butter. Yeah, what doesn't like butter? I'm a huge fan of butter on steaks as a nice finish, and we're gonna be showing you how to do that today. Additionally, we also have one more recipe that I think is just a classic. It's just terrific and it's absolutely versatile. And that's a smoked cauliflower dish that has a ton of Parmesan and a ton of flavor. And those are the recipes we're actually going to cover in this next little while. Now, behind me, I don't have just one grill. I actually have 2. Now, the reason we have 2 grills today is that we have one running, the Timberline 1300, and it's running at 225 degrees. The one on my right, the Pro 780, is running at 500 degrees because we're actually going to use those 2 temperature differences to maximize the flavor in our steaks today. So let's talk about the Pro 780 for just a second. So it's 780 square inches of awesomeness, 100% wood-fired pellet grill. Today we're running maple in that one, maple pellets, and it's got, you know, a lot of functions that I love. We've got turbo temp, we've got D2 technology, and of course we've got all that space to make something awesome every day with Wi-Fi technology. Now make sure you download the app on your phone. Whether you have a Traeger grill or not, you really need to get our app on your phone because that'll enable you to get all of our delicious recipes from our culinary team and our amazing pitmasters from all across North America. Now, the grill to my left. This is the Mac Daddy. This is the Timberline 1300 double wall stainless steel insulated grill. I love this grill and I use it so often for everything from whole hogs to smoky meats and everything in between. It has 1,300 square inches of space in there to do just about everything. Wi-Fi technology, D2 controller, bamboo cutting board, huge hopper. It has all the bells and whistles, and this is like the Mac Daddy combo we've got with both of them right here. Additionally, we've got that beautiful probe thermometer, so if you're trying to keep track of your grill's temperature on its meats or the grill itself, you can actually download our app and watch it right there and control it right there. So it's got all of these benefits. So these are the grills we're working on today. Now, let's start off with some meat. We have got a beautiful, massive, oh my gosh, very heavy ribeye roast in front of me. Now this is a boneless ribeye roast. The most economical way you can buy an entire roast like this is from your grocery store, and then you can actually control the thickness of your steaks. Now when it comes to doing reverse searing, I love to do reverse sear steaks because I think it just gives you the very best of all worlds. We want to start off with a nice thick steak. We're looking at 1 inch to 1.5 inches plus for steaks. Now, this is a ribeye roast. Ribeye, of course, has lots of beautiful marbling on the inside. It's got delicious flavor to it. All those beautiful little flecks, those little white flecks, that's flavor. Now, if you don't have a ribeye, this is actually suitable for a lot of other cuts of meat as well. This whole technique of reverse searing, you can do big, thick pork chops. Yeah, just adjust your final temperatures. You can do a tri-tip roast. You could do a porterhouse. You could even do a New York strip like this, or even a cut piece of tenderloin if you want. So this technique of reverse searing goes across all of those platforms of meat. Now, why do we reverse sear? That's a big question because we're going to invest a little bit of time. We're going to slowly smoke this steak at 225 degrees. We're going to bring up the internal temperature to 110 to 115 degrees. Then we're going to remove it off the super slow smoked grill, and then we're going to finish it on the hot and fast grill at 500 degrees to give that beautiful crust on the outside. So why do we do this? Well, the traditional method in which to cook a steak was you just went to your grill, whatever grill it was, you turn it up as hot as possible, you get your steak, and you put your steak on for 2 minutes on one side, flip it over, put it on 2 minutes on the other side, and you usually repeat that process a couple times. That's about an 8 to 9 minute steak. The problem with that is that all of that hot heat is literally attacking the protein cells on your meats. When it attacks the protein cells on your meats, the meats tighten up. And when they tighten up, they actually express out a whole bunch of those delicious steak juices. Well, our goal is to first and foremost get some wood-fired flavor in that. We love our wood-fired flavor. So today we've got my favorite pellet in the whole world in that grill, which is hickory. So we're gonna get that delicious hickory flavor into our steaks. That's the first thing, because it's all about the flavor for me. Secondly though, an added huge benefit of doing a reverse seared steak, we are going to have the juiciest, most insanely evenly cooked steak from top to bottom. You see, a lot of times when you do that really super hot grill, one of the problems with that is you get this gray line of meat all the way around. Well, that means it's, you know, way past medium or way past medium rare. And so that's an overdone, well cooked section of my steak. I want a beautiful steak that's got a beautiful crust on the outside, all that delicious wood-fired flavor, and then the interior is succulent, moist, and filled with flavor. And that's why we invest all this time into do a reverse seared steak. So getting back to our roast. I have a slicing knife here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually hand cut our steaks. This is the most economical way to actually get a beautiful big, thick steak. If you buy the entire roast, you'll actually save some money. So let's cut some beautiful steaks, shall we? Beautiful big steaks. So take a look at that. Now, who wouldn't want to eat a steak like that? And then of course, who wouldn't want to eat a steak like that that's been wood fired, reverse seared, and topped with butter? I mean, come on. This is this is the dream steak right here. So we've got some beautiful marbling. As you can see, we've got a center section of the ribeye roast. We've got the cap, which is the outside, and we've got beautiful flecks of fat all the way through there. So that's one steak. We're just gonna cut two for today. And you're trying to get them about the same size. You see, one of the other things is that if you go about the same size, then they should, within a couple of minutes, relatively be done at the same time. So here we go. Once again, take a look at that beautiful marbling all the way around. A nice, thick, substantial cut of steak, perfectly designed to go on the grills. And this is perfect for reverse searing. So we've got two steaks. As you can see, I've cut them about the same height. So they're about the same weight. But here's the thing. A lot of times they say that you should use your hand, that measuring thing, to test whether it's well done, sort of done, medium rare. Well, I have big, fat, fleshy hands. I'm always medium rare. So the one way that you can always ensure that your steak is done to the right temperature consistently, repeatably, with best results every time, is to get a digital thermometer. So make sure you have a digital thermometer so that you know exactly when your steaks are done every time. And if you've got an entire grill full of steaks, make sure you take the time to temp every individual steak, because not all proteins are equal. So make sure you take the time to not just temp one, temp them all, and that way you'll have consistent, repeatable results. All right, I'm gonna get rid of this conveniently right here, and we're gonna talk about seasoning our steaks. There we go. Magic, TV magic right there. So we've got our two beautiful steaks, we've got a digital thermometer, and now it's time to season our steaks. Now, at home, if all you have is salt and pepper, or maybe a couple of other spices, you have to use what's on hand, of course. But I have an ideal combo that I'm a huge fan of. You've seen this before on my social media channels many times. I use it for meatloaf, I use it for hamburgers, and I of course use it for a lot of steaks. So this is my killer combo for steaks. I love these two. And so the first one is Trigers Prime Rib Rub. And the reason I love Trigers Prime Rib Rub is because we have rosemary, garlic, onion. So we've got some herbs and spices. So it's more of a traditional kind of like beefy, steaky kind of rub. It just works every single time. Pepper and coffee in there, and what it does is coffee actually enhances the steakiness. It's actually the iron notes in all the meats themselves, and that All right, everybody, we are back. A little bit of a camera issue. I believe we have overcome our challenges yet again, and we're continuing to season these gorgeous, beautiful, big, thick ribeye steaks. So we have Trigers Prime Rib Rub, getting shellacked all over there. And what I was saying is that if you want to trim off that fat, if that's what you like at your house, you're more than welcome to. Just, if you want to leave it, season it up though, because it's going to get a beautiful color to it and a beautiful flavor. Once again, using Traeger's Prime Rib Rub, one of my go-to all beefy rubs. There we go. All right, so we have those steaks now seasoned with Prime Rib Rub. We're moving on to the coffee section. And remember, we're gonna go about 50-50 on this. Once again, if you're at home and you don't have these, you can always try this with salt and pepper. Maybe throw in a little bit of garlic powder, maybe some onion powder. And once again, you season all sides because you eat all sides. Really important to take your time to season things properly. All right, so there we have it. We have two gorgeous, big, thick, hand-cut steaks. We're gonna set them aside for just 5 minutes. And here's the reason why. Because the rubs have some salt in them. When it has salt in a rub, it's actually gonna immediately start to draw out moisture to the surface of any protein. Doesn't matter what you put anything on. If it has salt in the rub, it's going to immediately draw out moisture from any protein. That's actually a good thing for about 5 minutes, because what it's going to do is going to have all these little water molecules on the surface of the meats. And here is a little tip. Smoke is water soluble. So if you want to get the most wood-fired flavor into your meats, make sure that the little layer on the top of your meats is just ever so slightly damp. It's going to attract in more smoke and give you a better wood-fired flavor overall. So while we've got that, we're going to move on to the cauliflower section. Yeah, I said cauliflower, it's a vegetable, and I'm still happy about it. That should tell you right there how good this recipe is. It's really simple. And once again, about substitutions. We've used a whole head of cauliflower. Now, I've already got it cut up because it's just a mess when you have to cut it up on the counter. You got all these little bits. So I cut it up before we went live today. So this is just a basic, literally basic little cauliflower head. Cut it up, made sure it was all washed, cleaned up for today. And this is what I had in my house. And I know everybody's got different vegetables, so let me give you some substitutions. You can use Brussels sprouts for this. You can use cut up quarters of cabbage. Just leave the core intact when you do it. I've done it with peppers. I've definitely done it with squash, little pieces of squash on the grill too. Because basically what I like about this recipe is that this is going to be smoking at 225 at the same time our steaks are smoking at 225. The benefit is that we are cooking in real time for the real things that'll actually kind of pair together timing wise. So the cauliflower has been cut up. It's going to go to the grill at the same time that the steaks are going to go on. So 225 degrees. The Timberline has hickory pellets in it today. And then we are going to actually leave it on there anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, somewhere in there for the cauliflower. The steaks, we're gonna actually let temperature dictate that, and the steaks are gonna be removed from the grill when they hit 115 degrees. Pretty simple, right? Cauliflower, steaks, two things. So we're gonna grab a clean pair of gloves. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the cauliflower on the grill. Now you want to go directly to the grate with the cauliflower. You'll get the most wood-fired flavor by doing that. Once again, our Timberline's running at 225 degrees. So right to the grill. All right, everybody, we're at the grill. Took half a foot. It was awesome. Putting it right on the grill. Now, just a little note. I like my veggies on the top and my meat on the bottom. I actually don't want meat juices going onto my vegetables, so I always make sure to put it on the top grate. That's just a personal choice. Now remember, one of the benefits of having a Timberline is that up to 225 degrees, if you want even more smoke, you can actually use the super smoke button on there as well. Completely up to you, and you'll get literally 2 times of that beautiful, clean smoke full of flavor. All right, everybody, take a look at our steaks. You can see the surface is just ever so damp. 5 minutes, not even, okay? We've had them sitting here. We've got lots of seasoning on there, and they're going to the grill to smoke. 225 degrees on the Timberline with hickory pellets. All right, everybody, there we go. We've got the steaks on the bottom, we've got the cauliflower on top, and they're running 225 degrees. Close the lid. All right, everybody, let's get cleaned up. We're gonna go on to some butter. And in the meantime, you guys, you know you can ask questions. So we have lots of questions available to us. You can ask us questions on all of our social media channels. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, we even have YouTube up running today. So I'm sure I've got a question. What do you got?
Can you reverse sear other steak beyond steaks?
Absolutely. So when it comes to doing reverse searing, I would highly, highly recommend you experiment with pork as well. I love doing a huge pork loin with the reverse sear method as well, because I think it's really lovely to get that beautiful juicy pork. Now the only thing with pork is that you have to remember that pork finishes at different temperatures. It is now safe and completely good to go at 145 degrees when it comes to doing a whole pork loin or pork tenderloins. I'd still season it up ahead of time, 5 minutes before I go to the grill. I would make sure that my grill was set at 225 degrees, put my pork on there, or even maybe a big double thick cut of a beautiful pork chop, 225 degrees. I would then pull my pork out a little bit higher. So I would go for 125 degrees, pull it off the grill, set it aside, tent it lightly when it comes to waiting for the grill to get back up to 500 degrees. And then I would sear off my tenderloin and of course any pork loin or pork chop, and then I would take it to 145 to 155. And I like my pork still having a little bit of pink in the center. So once again, you can use the digital probe that comes on the grill or a handheld digital thermometer like this one. And that would be a great choice to make a reverse sear method on something that isn't beef. Remember, both these grills, both the Pro 780 and the Timberline 1300, they both get up to 500 degrees. So you can do this whole thing on either one of these grills. Yes, sir.
How would you handle a reverse sear on a thinner cut steak?
Here's the thing. When it comes to doing reverse searing, I really do recommend that you do an inch to an inch and a half. The question that was asked was, how would we handle it on thinner cuts? I'm going to tell you, not as suitable at that point, because you actually need a lot more time to actually get that smoke to come through the meat itself. One of the things I would recommend is that if you can at least get it to an inch thick, that's the ideal place to start. We'll take one more and then we'll continue on with the butter.
What Traeger models go above up to 500 degrees?
The two right behind me. So the two models right behind me are excellent for getting to 500 degrees. This is the Pro 780, the Pro series, and of course the Timberline series. Perfect grills. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to butter. Yeah, I love butter. I totally love butter. I love butter to finish things. I love smoking butter. And the other part of that is I love garlic. So, all right, we're gonna grab our stuff and we are going to make a beautiful, beautiful butter. But we're gonna talk about the garlic first. You see, I'm a bit of a garlic addict. That's probably an understatement. I love garlic. If you go to my social media pages, you can see that typically when I start smoking garlic, I'm not just doing 1 or 2 bulbs at a time. I usually do 4 to 10 pounds at a time. And the reason is, for me, it's just a freezer stock. And there are things that I have to have in my freezer all the time or in my pantry. My pantry is really well stocked. I love smoked salt on the grill. I love smoked cheddars off the grill, smoked cheese in general off the grill. And then the other thing that I always have to have, smoked garlic. And the reason is that smoked garlic can add so much goodness to so many different dishes. So, when it comes to smoking garlic, you can go right on TraegerGrills.com today for all of our amazing, amazing recipes. And you can download our app. So here's how I do it. I've got whole cloves of garlic, just like this, and this one's already been done. And what I like to do is, you can see I've actually taken the tip off of I've taken the top off of the bulb of garlic. And all I've done is I arrange them on a cookie sheet or a tray, whatever you've got at home. Drizzle on a little bit of olive oil, a little sprinkle of salt and pepper, or even a barbecue rub. Then what I like to do is go to the grill either at 225 degrees if I want a really smoky garlic, or 275. It's completely up to you. That's one of the best parts about the grills, is that they're super versatile. I mean, literally all you have to do is like this on the knob, or even better yet, on your phone on the app. Wi-Fi technology is pretty badass. So you can go ahead and you put your garlic cloves on there, and if you're gonna do one, you might as well do a whole tray because they freeze beautifully. So I take the top off, I drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, put it on the grill until it's just starting to get that beautiful caramel color. Now when it's just starting to take on that caramel color, and depending on how big your bulbs are, that can be as fast as 45 minutes, upwards of 2 hours. It really does depend on how dense the beautiful cloves are. When it gets to that area where you're getting that beautiful caramel color in there, it's time to actually wrap the whole tray. So take the entire tray, wrap it in foil, put it back on the grill, and that's actually going to steam it out a little bit, make it a little bit softer. Now we can kind of pierce it, or even with a digital thermometer, because this is actually how I do it when it's at the grill. I actually take my digital probe thermometer, and then when it's nice and soft like this, I'm like, it's done, it's good to go. I take it off the grill, let it chill down to room temperature, which here in Florida, by the way, today, I'm here in Central Florida, is like 95 degrees on my back porch. So it's a little warmer here than most areas. Once it gets down to the temperature where I can handle it safely, I actually like to wrap them up individually in plastic wrap, put that all in a zip bag into the freezer. It takes 25 seconds to thaw one of these out in the microwave, and then you have an opportunity to use smoked garlic on just about everything. This goes great in soups. It goes great in, breads. It goes great in butter. It goes great in so many things. Smoked garlic is even perfect, just squeezed out on toast points for a charcuterie board. So it's like a superfood that's super delicious, that's wood-fired kissed. That's why it's always in my freezer. And today, we're using it for butter. So I've taken a whole clove of garlic, as you can see, picked away all the papers, okay? We've got these beautiful pieces. Now look at that caramel goodness. Now, when garlic gets smoked like that, it actually takes away kind of the bitterness of garlic, and it makes it almost sweeter and almost like nuttier. So we've got a stick of butter, we've got some garlic, I have got some sauteed sauteed shallots up, some dried chives, and the thing is, this is what's in my fridge. The great part about this is that this recipe is totally versatile to your own flavor profile. What if you like hot foods? Well, you could, instead of using dried chives, maybe you could add some dried pepper flakes. If you want a lot of herbs in there, so maybe you go to your garden if you're a successful gardener, and if you are, please send me some DMs because I am not. Maybe you chop up some thyme, some parsley, some basil nice and fine, and put that in your bowl. The other options you have are endless. You could take one of our Traeger rubs, Traeger Saskatchewan rub, Traeger chicken rub. You could literally just sprinkle that in your butter as well. Opportunity, flavor bombs, all the time. And this is why I also have compound butters in my freezer at all times. Usually there's 3 or 4 types. The other thing is that we're using it on beef today. If you have a whole beautiful fillet of salmon or a beautiful piece of trout or, a mahi-mahi or any other kind of seafood, one of the things is that in my freezer, I actually have a seasoned chive and lemon zest butter. And that gives me an opportunity to add a compound butter that has another flavor profile. So like I said, opportunities are endless for making it delicious. So we've got our bowl here. It's got some dried chives in it. I have our softened butter, which is not a problem here in Florida. So room temperature butter, okay? Pretty simple. We've got that in there. We're gonna put in our shallots that have been sauteed. And if you don't like onions, and you know who you are, leave it out. You could also put in roasted red pepper puree in this, or just, some finely minced roasted red pepper. That's always a good kick. And then, of course, all of that delicious, delicious smoked garlic. I mean, seriously, who doesn't love that? So, we've got our little bowls to the side here. Get that cleaned up. We're going to add in 2 more things. Conveniently labeled salt and pepper. So, we've got some ancient grain sea salt. About half a teaspoon there. We've got some finely crushed black pepper. A little bit of that in there. And see, once again, you don't like pepper? Leave it out. You don't want to use salt in your diet? Leave it out. It's completely up to you. So we're going to put those to the side, and we're going to get these all mixed up because the toughest part is about to happen. So get this all mixed up nicely. And all we're doing, once again, is we are making a compound butter. A compound butter of awesomeness with some wood-fired smoked garlic. We've got some dried chives. We've got some sauteed shallots in there, some salt, and some pepper. Another thing I like to add in there is usually a lot of times I'll add in a little pinch of, smoked paprika. That's good too. You can do a curry butter. Literally, I could keep going on, but honestly, butter, just a little bit, and you don't need to eat a lot. All right, here's the hardest part. This is why this is cut ahead of time, the plastic wrap. I didn't want to bring the box out live because in all honesty, I have tried to get plastic wrap out of boxes live on TV before. It never ends well. So we've got the plastic wrap cut ahead of time. We've got our butter. It's all mixed up. It's nice and soft. So what you want to do is you want to actually just make a little bit of a log shape here, right in the middle. Pretty simple. Pat it all together so you've got that log shape, making sure you don't leave any of that garlic in there. Get our bowls to the side. All right, everybody. Now, once, oh, by the way, always use a non-stick spatula when you're doing this. It'll make a big difference. It's a lot easier. And then what you want to do is you want to take the side of the plastic wrap, roll it over, okay? And then you want to tuck it in a bit, roll over this side, and then you want to twist the ends. And when you twist the ends, tie them in a little bit of a knot and push it nice and tight. And you're going to do it for the same, you're going to do the same on the other end, okay? And there you go, everybody. That's as easy as it gets. So this little bundle of happiness, as you can see all the herbs, you can see the garlic, you can see the salt, you can see the pepper, is now a log of awesomeness, truly. So we've got that log of awesomeness. It goes in the fridge or the freezer to set up. And then when you have whatever protein you are serving out ready to go, what you want to do is you want to take a thin slice of this, put it on that hot meat, and watch all of that delicious melty goodness and that flavor bomb hit your meat. And it is spectacular every time. So there you go, guys. That is how you make a compound butter. All right, while we clean up and we go on to the next section, how about we take some more questions? What do you got? So the question is, why do we use coffee rub? Well, I'm a huge fan of coffee. I'm actually a big coffee addict in a huge way. I've written my own recipes for coffee rubs, and I really am a big fan of Traeger's coffee rub. I got to be one of the taste testers for it, and I just thought it was an excellent addition that actually brought out the iron notes in the meat. So that's why I often will include coffee rub in my steak applications and beef applications. That's my own personal taste profile. Next question.
Did you season the veggies?
Ah, good question. Okay, so the next question was, did I season the veggies? Not yet, I didn't, but we're about to do that next. All right, we'll take one more question, and we'll get on to making the seasoning for those veggies.
What brand of knife did you use?
The knife that I was using was a Victorinox Grant and Edge slicer. It's dirty and it's down at the bottom, so I don't want to pull it out again. It's my favorite slicing knife. It's, you know, moderately priced. It's really great. I've been using them for years. That and the trimming knife is the one I use. It's a 6.5 inch Fibrox knife. I'm not sponsored by them. I just think that's a really good knife and it's economical. And I keep it super sharp. That's the most important thing when it comes to knives. Whatever knife you have, and everybody's hands are different, you know, different sizes and things like that. Whatever knife you have, just really do yourself a favor, invest in a whetstone or a knife sharpening service. Additionally, use a diamond hone just to touch it up and take all the little burrs, which are little bumpy bits on the knife. Bumpy bits, that is the technical term for those. And then there's also some really great online resources online on Instagram, and of course some tutorials and videos. And I suggest you go and watch some of those and maybe learn how to set the edge on your knife. I typically will sharpen my own knives. I have my own guy here in Florida too, but a lot of times when I'm on the road for the Traeger shop classes and all of those things, I have to sharpen my knives myself. So it's really good to get some basics down in how to do proper knife sharpening. Additionally, if you've got some higher end knives, to do some proper knife maintenance. And you know, there's lots of online resources and tutorials available for that. One more question.
How do you cook a cake on the grill?
How do I cook a cake on the grill? That's a great question. You know, one of the benefits of having a Traeger grill is that we have an angled drip pan. Yeah, so we've got an angled drip pan. And one of the benefits of the design of Traeger, because we have like this pill design. So the side, on the side, it kind of like, it's a pill design. So it's not a circle, it goes down a little bit. So it's called a pill design. And one of the things that's a really good benefit for is convection style heat. I have cooked, oh my gosh, at this point, I don't know how many cheesecakes and cakes and muffins and pies and cookies and all those things. You know, once again, let me repeat, I live here in Florida, so I do not want to turn my oven barely ever gets used in my house. I cook every day on the Traeger grills when I'm home. Every single day I cook on them, and it doesn't matter. be everything from a cake or a pie to, you know, sometimes melty cheese things that I turn into taco shells and a whole bunch of fun things. That indirect heat makes it possible. So you've got that versatility going on there where you can actually do a whole cake. You know, your box cake or whatever you got says, you know, do it at 350 degrees for, you know, 35, 40 minutes, whatever it takes. And the only thing you have to remember is that around the outer edge, you've got an inch that you want to avoid. That's not very much to avoid. Put your cake on, bake it on a Traeger. It makes it easy. All right, one more. There are so many questions coming in, it's ridiculous. We can barely keep up with them.
How do you reverse sear on one Traeger if you're using two?
Perfect question. So the question was, how do we reverse sear on one Traeger? Well, the key is that the rest time. So we're actually right now taking these steaks from their cold, take them cold out of the fridge. Let me just extrapolate on that for a minute. The reason we want to go cold to the grill with our steaks and not let them come up to room temperature is we want to give them as much opportunity to get that wood-fired flavor into that steak. All right, here's an example. Here's the temperature of your fridge, okay? Here is room temperature in Florida. So between 38 or 35 degrees or whatever your fridge is at and room temperature, which is 90 degrees, that's a really big span. So if we brought our steaks, those beautiful big steaks out there, up to room temperature, they'd be sitting right at 90 degrees right now. And that means we'd only have 30 degrees worth of time to get all that wood-fired goodness in there. For me personally, I want as much time to get that wood-fired goodness into that steak. So it goes cold from the fridge, 30 to 40 degrees, somewhere in there, okay? And then we're prepping it for 5 minutes here with the rubs, and then it goes to the grill. So it's still cold when it goes to the grill, giving it as much opportunity to build up bark on the outside, that's that beautiful flavor crust on the outside, and get as much of that wood-fired deliciousness in there. Now, if you've only got one grill to use, it's super easy to do reverse sear. Put your steaks on the grill, just like we did here. Now, right now, that grill is running at 225 degrees. Pretty simple. When the steaks get up to 115 degrees, using a digital probe, you want to make sure you actually use a digital probe or a digital thermometer. Don't just do it by, you know, feel. Actually know what temperatures, so you have a repeatable, consistent results. When it gets up to 115 degrees, all you have to do is pull it off to the side and tent your steaks lightly. Matter of fact, how about I show you one? One sec. Here we go. This is tenting. I don't want to show you what's inside yet, but this is tenting. See that? Tent. And the reason is we do not want to steam out these steaks. So our tents are open at both sides. So we've got our two steaks, you know, for the magic of TV, already smoked. So if you're doing this at home with only one grill, this is the step you have to do. You want to make sure that you have your steaks completely tented, ready to go, and then you go back to your grill, because currently it's at 225 degrees, and you want to increase it to 500 degrees. And that's the important thing. Anything past 350 degrees, if you've got a different model of grill, that's going to be okay. But 500, 400, really truly ideal for searing off that steak towards the end. And literally, that's all you have to do. Tent it. Just like that. Set it aside while you wait for the grill to come up to temperature. Remember, it's not going to be that long, okay? And once it comes up to 500 degrees, remove your tenting, take your grill or take your steaks to the grill, and get them done to about 125 to 130 degrees. And then you need to rest your steaks. Hope that answers your question. All right, Bri, one more. There, I can actually, so my peripheral vision, I can see all of the questions that are scrolling through. So I don't want to miss anybody's question. We're going to miss some, I'm sorry, but make sure you guys join us for the, you know, the little after party on Traeger's Instagram. I will be with the man that truly has the very best shorts in barbecue, Chad Ward. And you know what? We're going to be sitting there talking about everything we did today and answering some even more barbecue questions. So make sure you join us afterwards on Instagram, live on Traeger's Instagram stories. What do you got?
How do I get the most smoke flavor in my meat?
So the question is, how do I get the most smoke flavor in my meat? So for me personally, that means it's a timberline using super smoke, and that'll give you the most smoke ever. That is the best way to get really great smoke. And remember, Traegers provide clean smoke. Our Traegers are configured so that they actually travel in a figure-8 pattern. That figure-8 pattern is really important because we have a downward draft system at the back. It gets rid of all of the acrid white smoke, and that leaves you in the chamber of the Traeger with the best, cleanest smoke ever. That's the benefit of owning a Traeger, just one of the many. And that smoke is delicious. That kind of smoke. Remember, smoke shouldn't be acrid tasting. It shouldn't be bitter. It should be a gentle, you know, kind of hug up on the meats or the proteins or whatever you got going on. It should not be a slap upside the head. It should be just tasty goodness, chill, lovely, delicious, but not overpowering. So there you go, guys. All right, we're going to go on to, we're going to mix up the stuff for the veggies, okay? We didn't put anything on the veggies at this point because we just want to get that smoke flavor in there. So right now, the steaks and the veggies are in there, 225 degrees. They're taking on all that delicious wood-fired smoke. We have hickory wood pellets in there. If you go online, you can actually see our wood pairing guide. We have lots of pairing ideas, and every Traeger recipe has at the top, it has difficulty level, cooking approximate temperatures, times, all that, and then it has a preferred wood. Well, I always like to tell people, you know what, at the end of the day, it's your house, it's your flavor profile. At my house, I go through a lot of pellets, probably more than a few people because I don't ever stop cooking. And one of the things is that hickory is my #1 choice, hands down. But I like to do a lot of those, you know, delicious blends on many of our pellets too. So sometimes I just take hickory and cherry and mix them together. A lot of times I'll take hickory and apple and mix them together. Experiment. We've got these buckets. They've got the little lids on them. They're pretty awesome. They're stainless steel. They look really great. You know, on mine, and I've got 2 that fit under the Timberlines, I actually take painter's tape and write what my mix is for that week. So you can actually come up with your own custom blends for pellets on your own time. That's a lot of times how we come up with like things like signature blend and big game blend. You know, some of us had ideas, and there's some expert barbecuers out there that, you know, certainly helped in the development of all those incredibly delicious blends. There's nothing to say you can't mix up your own little combination at home for whatever wood you want. All right, everybody. So we're going to mix up the cauliflower mix now. And it's pretty simple. And once the cauliflower has been on for about 35, 45 minutes, anywhere in there, we're actually going to brush this on. Once again, using another silicone brush. We've got a little bit of olive oil in here. We've got some minced garlic. We also have some paprika, some salt, and some pepper. Once again, all of these recipes are available at TraegerGrills.com, and make sure you get the app on your phone, because you know what? Who doesn't love having, you know, like a million recipes on their phone? And everything from cocktails to salads to appetizers to big game meats, and then of course our everyday traditional barbecue things. So it goes the whole spectrum of everything you would expect from like the best ever cookbook in the world. All right, olive oil, we've got our spices in there. We've got a little bit of garlic going on. Now, this is the flavor bomb for our cauliflower. That wasn't hard at all, seriously. It doesn't have to be difficult, but it always has to be delicious. You know, I actually trademarked a saying a few years ago, life is too short for bad barbecue. It's true. It really does have to be delicious, and it really can be that easy. So we've got cauliflower, which I traditionally am not a fan of cauliflower. I know that there are a lot of pro-cauliflower people out there these days, and I get you. I know you're trying to be healthy, but this recipe I actually want to eat all the time. The last time I made this recipe, I actually made a double batch. Let me explain why. I loved the double batch because the next day, inspired by a woman who does more food boards than anybody I've ever seen, and you know who you are, I saw a bowl that she had with some leftover veggies and some rice and some other things. So the last time I did this recipe, I actually made a double batch of it so that the next day I could actually have that beautiful Parmesan cauliflower in bowls served the next day. So if you want to save time for cooking as well, make a double batch of this kind of stuff, because, you know, we're spending quite a bit of time doing the smoking, getting all that wood-fired delicious in there, and why not eat it twice? Honestly, cook once, eat twice if you want to, or if you're trying to save time with your family. I know a lot of you parents out there are doing a lot of teaching right now, and kudos to all of you. That's a lot. It's a lot of work. All right, everybody. So we've got our beautiful, beautiful cauliflower bomb mix here. Lots of flavors going on there. And what we're going to do now is we are going to take a look at our steaks and our cauliflower on the grill, on the Timberline. So let's take a look, shall we? All right. So we've got some beautiful smoke going on there. When you go to temp your steaks, make sure you're temping your steaks right in the middle, thickest part. Now we're still sitting there at 78, 79 degrees. We've got our beautiful cauliflower on the top. As you can see, it's getting some of that delicious smoke flavor on there. So we're going to close this up for now. we're gonna go and grab the tray of cauliflower I already smoked. And the reason I did that is because, well, you know what, we're live. Didn't want to waste anybody's time because I know we've got to answer questions and talk. So I'm going to grab that cauliflower from the table. We'll be right back here. And then we are going to be looking at these beauties at the same time. Check out these steaks that have been resting while I have been talking that have already been smoked to 115 degrees. So we have our gorgeous steaks. They're already smoked. We're going to put them aside. They're coming. Now we have our beautiful cauliflower that's already been smoked, covered in foil. We're going to set those aside. And now all we want to do is we want to take this beautiful, beautiful flavor bomb, and we are going to brush this all over these gorgeous pieces of cauliflower. Now, just a tip. The recipe calls for half a teaspoon of paprika and a tablespoon of oil. I doubled it up because I thought this cauliflower head was really big. So feel free to like modify the recipe a little bit. For those hot sauce lovers, if I could spit that out, if you want to throw in a couple tablespoons of hot sauce on here, you know, we like hot, buffalo chicken and all that kind of stuff. So you may want to do that to the cauliflower as well and get a little more flavor layered into there. Now, to my right, behind me, this beautiful grill is running at 500 degrees, ready to go. Because what we're going to do is we're actually going to take this cauliflower and those gorgeous steaks, and we're going to sear them off and finish up this cauliflower hot and fast as well. Like, how terrific is this? We get both of these dishes done at the same time with tons and tons of flavor. All right, everybody, let's get this on there. And then I'm going to transfer these to my sheet pan that has the silicone liner. One of the things I love is using silicone liners, the butcher paper, the parchment paper. It just makes for a really easy cleanup, especially since I know I'm going to be adding cheese at some point. Oh yeah, that's right. There's a whole bunch of Parmesan cheese that's going on here. So to make my life easier, I'm lining up all of these beautiful pieces of cauliflower. Take a look at that gorgeousness. We're popping them on the sheet pan with all that goodness. And once again, I'm telling you that it's a good cauliflower recipe. And I hate most cauliflower recipes. You know who else has a really great recipe online? Amanda Haas from our Traeger team. Her cauliflower recipe, I could eat 24/7. It is ridiculously good. Cold, hot, room temperature, seriously. And I think the thing is that I just had to learn to season my cauliflower a lot better than I was in the past. And of course that wood-fired goodness just adds, another layer over all the beautiful spices and things like that. So there you go, everybody. And make sure you check out all of our awesome ambassadors and pitmasters at Traeger. We've all got our own social media pages. All of us have our different goals and things like that, but there's lots of different takes on barbecue. So remember, there's no one right way to barbecue. There's just some really good science to go with some of it, okay? So there we go, cauliflower. We're gonna pop it on the grill right now. So we are on the Pro 780. We're gonna put it on the top shelf for now. As you can see, it's sitting up there for now. And then we're just going to talk about these steaks for a second. So these steaks were put on the Timberline 1300 at 225 degrees. We used a digital thermometer, and once again, you want to be taking the temperature from the center section of the steak, where the thickest part of the protein is, okay? So on whatever piece of meat you cook for doing a reverse seared, make sure you are actually putting that digital thermometer in the center section, okay? Don't go in the fat line. Make sure you stick to that center section. Now, these two steaks are going to come off this tray, and we're going to put them on the grill for 5 minutes. And then we're going to go back and flip them. Now, that's completely optional. If you want to flip your steaks, you can. If you don't want to flip your steaks, you don't really have to, but it's fun to do. And people are always used to doing things on grills. So our beautiful, gorgeous wood-fired smoked steaks going to the Pro 780. All right, everybody. Woo! It's smoking 500 degrees. I love, love, love the sound of the sizzle. All right, everybody. We've got our two beautiful steaks on there. I'm gonna have my partner in crime over here take a 5-minute count. And in 5 minutes, we're gonna come back. We're gonna take a look at the cauliflower and at the steaks at that point. and we're going to make sure that they are getting to the right temperature. So in the meantime, I get to have a drink. It's just water. And we're going to take some questions from the 50 million that have now come in. All right, what do we got?
Is this similar to a Diva Q shot glass?
Well, that's a Traeger shot glass hosted by Diva Q. Just to make that very clear. So is this similar to a shot glass? Well, you know what? One of the things is that due to our current situation, we had to delay and postpone some of the classes that we were doing. For the classes, it's typically 4 hours, 4 meats, and one of our Traeger Pitmasters will do at least, 3 hours plus of talking. Last year, I had the distinct honor of teaching almost 4,000 students. That's what I'm averaging, between 3,000 and 4,000 every year, and mostly for Traeger. So it's a lot of fun to come out and learn barbecue. Remember, you can always download the app on your phone because we have so many incredible recipes and step-by-steps on our website already. Make sure you're also, if you're on any one of our social channels, make sure you're following the other ones. We have so much great content, and it's real content from real people. We have Traeger owners all over the world, and trust me, I just got back literally about a month and a half ago from New Zealand and Australia. Got to visit with some great folks down there. Been traveling all over for Traeger. So literally, Traeger Nation is worldwide, and we love to cook. And we love to cook under any circumstance whatsoever. All right, next question.
Does spraying steaks with water help?
Will spraying steaks with water? In all honesty, it's really unnecessary to spray the steaks with water because the salt that's in the rub is actually going to draw out moisture right away. Within a couple minutes, you saw that we had that sheen of water at the top. And that actually water is actually called myoglobin. It's proteiny waters that get sucked out of the cell structure of the meat itself. It's from the building blocks, from the cell structure. And so you really don't need to spritz with water at all. Unnecessary. Next question.
Should you salt the meat and allow it to sit?
No, I don't recommend. When it comes to doing really high quality meats, like the steaks we have, it's got lots of marbling, it's got lots of beautiful, good, thick texture to it. I don't recommend salting it ahead of time. Sometimes when you have a lower quality piece of meat, sometimes it's advisable to salt it and leave it in the fridge overnight. It actually helps unravel some of the cell structure and actually break it down. And what that does is actually gives you a more tender bite. But that's usually only with lower quality meats. Next question. Why didn't I season the cauliflower before we smoked it? Well, because honestly, the recipe told me to, and it works. And so I just keep doing it. That's the honest answer. I didn't write this recipe, our culinary team did, and it works just as it is. If you want a more in-depth flavor, nothing's to prevent you from changing the recipe yourself at home. But I actually am just preparing it as it is written, and it really does work. I mean, I liked it in my salad the next day, and I also had it in a taco bowl, which also didn't suck at all, so it was good. What do you got?
What's your suggestion for meatloaf?
Oh, my suggestion for a meatloaf is people need to stop putting too much bread in their meatloaves. So there's a couple things you can do when it comes to making meatloaf at home, because I think meatloaf is one of those really approachable foods right now where everybody kind of wants those classic comfort dishes. So there's a couple of things you can do when it comes to meatloaf. I posted one on my Instagram just the other day. It was actually a venison meatloaf that I wrapped in bacon. If you're going to wrap anything in bacon meatloaf wise, make sure it's really inexpensive thin bacon. And that means it's 18 to 24 slices per pound. The thinner the bacon, the better it is to wrap with. When you're making the actual meat mixture itself, try to avoid putting in too much breadcrumbs or panko or whatever you're using as that type of a body to it. A couple of things you can do if you're looking to stretch your budget a little bit. A great tip. Take a can of white beans, rinse them out completely because they typically are sitting in that solution. Rinse the white beans out, mash them up really finely, add that to your meat mixture if you're looking to stretch it out a bit more. White cannelloni beans work really great for that, and basically white cannelloni beans are really a kind of a blank flavor. They take on a lot of those meaty flavors and the juices, so you don't get that bready taste to it. So use cannelloni beans mashed up if you want to extrapolate your meat quotient. Secondly, if you're using a binder, don't over mix your dough with a lot of breadcrumbs. Sometimes all you need is actually just an egg white, not the egg yolk, to bring it together and keep it nice and moist and tight. When it comes to doing ground meats, typically you want to go for an 80% protein, 20% fat content ratio. If your meat is especially lean, like I had the other day with I had the moose meatloaf, it was very lean. That's when I decided to wrap with the bacon to add it, that extra fat into there. Now I wrapped it on the outside. Nothing is to prevent you from chopping up that bacon super fine and adding adding that to your meat mixture. So there's lots of tips there for meatloaf. I'm a huge meatloaf fan. It is comfort, classic, dishes, and I think it's really important that we all have those great comforting dishes. The last thing I will say is that you need to make sure that you don't. Please do not sauce your meatloaves too early on the grill. Saucing should only happen in the last 10 minutes. And that way you've got enough time to caramelize the sauce but not overcook it onto your meats. All right, we've got a 5-minute warning. We're gonna go flip our steaks. Woo, baby. Now I gotta show this off. Take a look at that beauty. Look at that, oh, it's drippy. Drippy, steaky goodness. All right, we're going to the grill again. We're gonna do a quick temperature check to see where we're at. And we're sitting at 115. Yeah, we're right at 115, so we've got a few more minutes to go, okay? Now, in the meantime, since the grill is open, I'm gonna grab this tray of cauliflower just to show you guys what it looks like as well. Got me a glove on. So as you can see, just even in that 5 minutes, you can hear the sizzle on that. Cauliflower is coming along beautifully. I'm gonna put it back on the grill. There we go. Give that a close, and we're gonna go for 8 to 9 minutes now. Because these steaks are so thick, I think 8 to 9 minutes should be enough to get us to 120 to 125 degrees. All right, everybody. We're going to continue on with questions. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, we are at Traeger Kitchen Live. This is our first ever Kitchen Live. Make sure you get the app, TraegerGrills.com, on your phone, on the App Store. Always, always, always take a look at our social media. We have the most kick-ass culinary department in the world, and I truly would stand behind that. They travel all over feeding the most amazing things to everybody, and it's just amazing to see them all work so hard. Proud to be a proud member of Traeger Nation. All right, next question. What do we got? How do I get my wings crispy? Well, you know what? One of the things is you got to use a little bit of science. I am a firm believer in meat science. Meat science to me is the one thing that's constant. You can change flavor profiles up a lot. You can change the sauce. You can change your injections. You can change the marinades. You can change all that stuff. But one of the things is that meat science is one of those things you can't debate. And so I try to teach a lot of meat science based cooking. That's kind of a big thing to me. One of the things is that when it comes to doing chicken wings, you need to change the pH level. If you don't want to fry them, I'm talking just straight up on the grill, you need to change the pH level of the surface of the meat. You can do that with a couple of really, simple ingredients. I'm pretty sure you guys have got at your house, baking powder and salt. So if you go over to my Instagram, the recipe is right there posted, step-by-step tutorial on how to get the crispiest chicken wings ever. Once again, thank you for everybody who tagged me in that. Chicken wings are, I love chicken wings. I so love chicken wings. The other thing I think you really need to definitely make at home, because I thought I hated buffalo wing sauce for years. I really did. Apparently I just hated really bad buffalo wing sauce, because when we were on the road last year for the Traeger Road Crew, we actually made the Traeger Grills recipe for buffalo wing sauce. I have now made that recipe at least a dozen times since then, so high recommendation on making that recipe at home. It's so much better than anything store-bought or bottled that I've ever had, and it literally is pantry basic staples that you probably already have. So highly recommend that. All right, next question.
Will the recipes be posted?
Oh, heck yeah. Hold on. So the question is, are the recipes posted? All the recipes we have today are already on TraegerGrills.com. This is one of the benefits of having such a great database. Everything we're doing, from reverse-seared steaks to the cauliflower with the Parmesan to the herbed, the herb garlic butter that we're doing, all of it is already available to TraegerGrills.com. Make sure you take a look at the other categories. So if you're looking for a veggie, if you're looking for a side, if you're looking for a dessert, if you're looking for a cocktail, highly recommend the cocktail area, by the way. I will be having one of those cocktails when we do the after party on Instagram, because that'll be all sorts of deliciousness, and I'll be with Chad Ward, the man with the best shorts in barbecue, and I'm looking forward to that. That'll be on Traeger Grills Instagram. And so there you go, guys. You can go and find all the recipes at Traeger Grills or on the app. All right, another question, please.
Your favorite rubs for brisket?
My favorite rubs for brisket. All right, favorite rubs for brisket are these two plus one other. I still want to scratch my face. Not touch your face. So I love prime rib rub combined with coffee rub combined with pork and poultry rub. And when I'm doing a full Traeger brisket, and the step-by-step tutorial is up there, I love to use 50% Traeger Prime Rib Rub, 25% coffee rub, 25% pork and poultry. Let me explain why. Coffee rub, of course, once again, enhancing that iron notes in the brisket itself. Prime rib rub because it's got the rosemary, the onion, the garlic, and then the pork and poultry rub because I think it's one of the all-time best rubs on the market right now, hands down. And I really wish we sold it in bigger containers because I love it that much. Pork and poultry to me is an extraordinarily fine rub. And when you're talking about rubs and meats and how things are absorbed, the finer the rub is, the higher the absorption rate, the quicker the absorption rate as well. So that little bit of pork and poultry rub that goes on the very end when I process my briskets for doing them on the grill. I did the hot and fast one just the other day. We were actually feeding some first responders. Thank you so much to everybody who is out there just trying to do their best every day. One of the things is that I did just a little bit of the Traeger pork and poultry rub on there, and that finished it off with a little bit of a sugar, kind of a sugar layer on the outside. When you do that, that actually helps create a little bit of a better bark, better barbecue, better overall experience. So that is, those are my favorite, that trio. Yes, sir.
Do you need to flip the steaks while reverse searing?
You can flip the steaks if you want while you're reversing. We're doing that today to show them off to you guys because we think they're so epic. They really are epic. So it's completely up to you whether you flip your steaks when you're reverse sear or not. Next question, please.
Can you use different herbs in your butter?
The question is, can you use different herbs in your butter? You can use whatever you want with your butter. Everything from, herbs to, hot sauces, to minced garlic, to mashed garlic, to even if you don't have any of the fresh stuff and your pantry just has dry spices right now, take the butter, mix in, powdered garlic, powdered onion, maybe some coriander, maybe some za'atar or, fenugreek, mix up your spice a little bit. Like I said earlier, you can even use like a curry powder in there. So the opportunities are endless when it comes to butter and getting a better butter. And it also can be made with everyday items that you already have in your pantry. Additionally, experiment with different salts as well. Not all salts are created equal. I have probably that's conservative, probably 15 different types of salt in my cupboard, different flavored salts, smoked salts, herb salts, ancient sea salts, ancient kosher salts. That gives me an incredible flavor overall and adds to a better barbecue experience when you get to experiment with all that kind of stuff in your butters or just on the surface of the meats itself to finish. Next question.
Is there a reason you didn't use a coating of oil before putting your rubs on?
Yeah, the question is, is there a reason why I didn't use a coating of oil before I applied the rubs to the steaks? Here is one of those situations. When you add oil to the surface of the meat, you can sometimes block the pores of the meat. As you can see, the rubs, the prime rib rub and the coffee rub, adhered just fine, so they stuck to the meat, no problem without any additional oil. I don't want to oily steaks. I also don't want to clog the pores from receiving that delicious barbecue rub and the wood-fired flavor. So I actually don't find any necessity whatsoever to add a surface layer of oil. Keep those pores open. They'll take in more of that barbecue rub. They're going to take in more of that smoke flavor, and it's going to be a better barbecue experience overall. But here's the thing. If you like the flavor of oil, it's your house, your flavor profile. Next question, please.
Favorite digital thermometer?
My favorite digital thermometer is an MK4 from ThermoWorks. Hands down. No other, seriously. Hands down, I have quite a few of these. In various pockets, knife rolls, different locations. It's a 2 to 3 second read, and it makes my life happy. And I always have them like in my pocket, always, always. MK4, super fast, ThermoWorks. Yep.
You need to use any spray on your grates?
Can you say that again?
Spray on your grates?
Do I need to use any spray on my grates? No. Your grates are already seasoned. I mean, I wouldn't recommend putting a block of cheese directly on your grates. For certain things like that have a moisture sticky factor to them, certainly there's no reason to not put a little tray on there. Typically for me, I'll just show you guys, when I'm done cooking, as you can see, this is very well used. This is something I use all the time on my grates. I love it. It's one of the Traeger scrapers. We have another one as well, so I've got this one right afterwards for all the little pieces. Another Traeger scraper. And for me, I use those. I do a deep clean regularly on it, and I'm a huge fan of the Traeger cleaner. That's not just because I work with the company, it's because it's the best one on the market, hands down. It's an all-natural bio cleaner that you can actually eat. I'm really comfortable about using it on my grates because if you've got kids or pets, or just yourself, I don't want to use chemicals on my grates. That really upsets me because I don't want to put that near my food. So I literally will clean up the grill once we're done today. No reason to spray them. I'll actually scrape down any of the particulates that are on there. We may change out the foil depending on if I have anything, or the tray liner, if I have anything with sauce on it. And then the other thing I would do is basically once a month or so, I do a deep clean. We just did one on the Timberline 1300. Spray it all down, wipe it all down, and use Traeger's cleaner because it is a bio cleaner. It is worth the investment. And for me, for the safety of my family, I don't want to put chemicals on my grill ever. So all natural, 100% all natural, and that makes me have a great comfort level when it comes to cleaning my grill. Next question, please.
Do you recommend using searing on a cast iron after smoking your steak?
So the question is, do I recommend searing in cast iron after I smoke the steak? Well, here's the thing. That is one of those options available to you. If you have one of our Traeger cast iron pans, one of the things you can do, or even a regular cast iron pan or a cast iron grate, all of those things, what you can do is actually take some of that compound butter, even if you want, put a couple of dollops in the bottom of that pan, and you can actually finish that right on your 500-degree grill if you want that harder sear. It's always up to you whether you want that super hard sear or you want a more gentle sear. You have cast iron at home, you like that texture, you go use it. Make yourself happy. It's all about barbecue. Yes, sir.
How do you cook the Wagyu fried beef? How do you cook the Wagyu beef?
Okay, the question is, how do I cook a Wagyu beef? They didn't specify the cut. So what I will tell you about Wagyu beef is this. Wagyu beef is a much higher marbled meat. So often with that, when it comes to briskets, if they're Wagyu, you can cook them hotter and faster because the amount of moisture that's getting rendered through the meat is so much higher that it's actually compensating for the loss of moisture because of the heat. That's one of the great benefits of a Wagyu piece of meat. Usually it's a much more, it's a very distinct flavor, and the fact is you can cook it hot and fast, and it has that flexibility to it. It's very rich. There you go. There's your tip. I'm going to check the temperature on our steaks, everybody, okay? They've been on for 10 minutes now. We're good at 10 minutes. All right. We've got our beautiful steaks here. I wish you guys could see it. 125. Next steak. 132. Time to get the steaks off. So, we got our steaks there. We're going to rest them over the side, uncovered. Here's the other thing. Notice I did not pile the steaks one on top of each other. If you do that, that beautiful, delicious crust that we just went and developed all over the steak is actually going to steam out, and it's going to get a little mushy. So you never want to pile your steaks on top of each other. Even if you are cooking for a crowd, make sure you leave your steaks in single layers. That way, your crust, that beautiful exterior on that steak, is going to be left intact and all sorts of delicious, okay? So we're going to put that to the side. We're going to grab a glove, and we are going to grab that beautiful cauliflower off there. It's time to add in that last delicious layer to our cauliflower. Here it is, everybody. A whole bunch of Parmesan. And who doesn't love Parmesan? All right, everybody, so we've got our beautiful cauliflower here. I'm a massive Parmesan nut. I love the flavor of Parmesan. By the way, whoever cooks this dish, just want to give you a hint. You get the little crispy bits that are on the bottom, okay? I'm telling you right now, crispy bits on the bottom that are barbecued are all sorts of decadent and delicious. I'm all about the crispy bits. So there we go, guys. As you can see, I put a very generous amount. If you don't want to put that much on, you're not eating at my house. But if you're not wanting to put that much on, you don't have to use that much. Additionally, smoked shredded Gouda works really great for this as well. While these steaks are resting, we are actually going to go back and we're going to put this back on the grill for just another 5 minutes. There we go, everybody. On the grill they go. And we are still running at 500 degrees. Yeah, 500 degrees. So all sorts of goodness. Let me get this wiped up. Now, while these steaks are resting, we should probably do something decadent. What do you think? I think that we should do something decadent. So, conveniently, I already have one of these butters made up. So this one's still a little bit firm. It's warmed up a little bit since we've been out here. I happen to have a plate. I happen to have a knife. And I happen to have a fork. And so I think those are essential parts of what I'm about to do next. So we're going to open up the end of our butter. Put it to the side. We're going to take a couple slices out of there. Oh, there we go. Thank goodness I cleaned that table. We're going to pop it on the top of that steak and let it melt into there and get some beauty. It's a little warmer than I originally wanted it, but that's okay. We've got, oh, it's so hot and delicious. All right. We've got the butter on the steaks, so while they're resting and we're waiting for those Parmesan cauliflower to come up to temperature and get all melty goodness, we're actually going to be having those steaks do a little bit of a melt job on there. And in the meantime, we're going to take even more questions. Thanks to all the birds in my backyard right now, as you guys can hear. Questions?
How long will garlic keep in the freezer?
So in the freezer, so the question is, how long will garlic keep in the freezer? Well, typically when it comes to doing garlic for the freezer, it's going to last probably 2 months. I'm going to say conservatively 2 months. But here's the thing. Don't just throw it in on a sheet pan and be done with it. Take individual bulbs, wrap them in plastic wrap, food safe plastic wrap always, and then take the individual bulbs, put the entire amount into a Ziploc bag or a cryovac. Ziploc bag for me works better because I'm always in and out of it all the time to put that garlic in so many things. Next question, please. Okay, so the question is the perfect internal temperature for a brisket. I'm going to tell you, it really does depend on the brisket. There's usually a range of anywhere from 202 right up to 212, 215 degrees. What happens is that not all briskets are created equal. So the lower quality briskets, the lower grades of briskets, select and choice, tend to be cooked a lot slower and a lot longer. And a lot of times they don't have the internal marbling that makes them a little more succulent. So sometimes you have to take them to about 204, 205 degrees. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you're dealing with a higher, higher marbled piece of Wagyu, you actually have to render out a lot more of that fat. And so a lot of times I find the Wagyus and even the top primes, they actually need to be done at about 208 to 212 degrees. All right, we have one more question. Yep. So we've got one more question. We're good. We'll take one more question, and in the meantime, I'm going to grab my Parmesan, beautiful cauliflower out of there, and we're going to get a final plate done.
Why do you wrap a brisket?
So the question is, and I get this one all the time, why do we wrap brisket? Well, we wrap brisket because it makes it faster. It expedites the cooking. It helps tenderize it. As you can see, we've got our beautiful Parmesan, gorgeous cauliflower. Look at all that melty cheese. Look at all that melty goodness. And we've got all the crispy bits on the bottom. Lots of flavor going on. I know you guys want to see this, so I'm going to go right over in here to the steak, because you know, steak goodness. We've got this steak that's been wrapped and resting here, or left unwrapped. We've got it resting beautifully. I want to show you guys the inside color of that steak. I want to show you live how evenly, perfectly cooked it is. So once again, this steak, 225 degrees, smoked to the internal temperature of 115 degrees. It is a perfectly done steak from top to bottom. Once we reached 115 degrees, we went to a uber hot 500 degrees grill. When we went to 500 degrees, one of the best things is we just seared off the sides for 5 minutes each. And then we took it to 122 to 125 degrees. We rested it, and then we topped it with that delicious butter. So we have this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece of meat. I want to show you guys how gorgeous that is. Perfectly cooked from top to bottom. We have this delicious, Parmesan cauliflower right here. And I get to eat. That's it, everybody. Start to finish. That is so good. Even the cauliflower I'll eat. I'm starving too, so it's awesome. Holy crap, it's hot. Woo! All right. This is the awkward part about eating on TV. All right, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining in Traeger's Kitchen Live, the very first episode. For this recipe, that recipe, that recipe, make sure you go to TraegerGrills.com, download the app. I'm going to go grab a cocktail. Join us on Traeger's Instagram now for the after party. I'll be with Chad Ward, the man with the best shorts in barbecue, and we're going to be taking even more of your questions. Thank you once again, everybody, for your questions. We appreciate you so much. Make sure you follow us on all of our social channels. From Diva Q's host, thank you. God bless. Keep safe, everybody.